The unsettling broadcast. It was just another ordinary day for the Galactic Union. Across hundreds of star systems, alien civilizations went about their usual activities, trading resources, managing territories, and exploring the endless expanse of the galaxy. Then, out of nowhere, a strange signal was broadcast from a small blue planet on the edge of the Milky Way, Earth. The signal was not a cry for help, nor was it a diplomatic message. It was a warning. Every advanced species in the galaxy received it simultaneously, as if it bypassed traditional communication systems. The message was short but chilling. Stay away from Earth. The danger is greater than you can imagine. This is your only warning. The words were not spoken in any specific language. Instead, they resonated in a universal tone that all species could understand. It was as if the message wasn't created by humans, but by something far older and more powerful. The Galactic Union, a council of the galaxy's most advanced species, was thrown into chaos. Earth had always been a point of curiosity. Known for its aggressive yet innovative humans, Earth was once a bustling trade partner and a source of strange but useful technologies. But for the past 50 years, Earth had gone silent. No ships left its orbit. No transmissions were sent, and no one knew why. And now, this warning. It didn't make sense. High Chancellor Velerin, leader of the Galactic Union, called an emergency meeting. Representatives from dozens of alien races filled the enormous council chamber. The air buzzed with tension as the delegates debated the meaning of the message. "It's a trap," growled Commander Trask of the Zarnak Empire. The reptilian leader slammed his clawed hand on the table, his sharp teeth glinting under the chamber lights. "Humans have always been unpredictable. This is likely some clever trick to lure us in." "No," countered Aerialith, an ambassador from the Luminaris, a peaceful and highly intelligent species known for their glowing translucent forms. "The message feels genuine. Humans are bold, yes, but they've never been suicidal. If they wanted war, they would not issue such a strange warning." "But why now?" asked another representative, his voice heavy with suspicion. "Why remain silent for decades, only to broadcast this cryptic message? What have they been hiding?" The council fell silent. No one had an answer. Meanwhile, on the outer edges of the galaxy, independent traders and explorers were also receiving the signal. It was the same everywhere. Clear, ominous, and impossible to ignore. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some believed Earth had been overtaken by a new, unknown force. Others speculated that humanity had created a weapon so powerful that it threatened the entire galaxy. A few whispered that Earth had discovered something ancient and terrible, something even they could not control. Among the galactic citizens, fear and curiosity clashed. Entire planets banned any communication with Earth, declaring it a forbidden zone. But not everyone was so cautious. Captain Dren Halvik of the starship Infinity Spear was among the many who saw the warning not as a threat, but as an invitation. He was a bold, thrill-seeking adventurer known for uncovering dangerous secrets. To him, the cryptic broadcast was a challenge, a puzzle waiting to be solved. What could be so dangerous on a dead planet? Dren mused, leaning back in his chair as his crew nervously watched the broadcast on repeat. If Earth wanted us to stay away, they wouldn't have said anything. They're hiding something valuable. I can feel it. Dren wasn't the only one with this idea. Across the galaxy, others prepared to venture into Earth's solar system, eager to uncover its secrets. Back on the Galactic Union's homeworld, the Council had yet to reach a decision. Should they investigate, or should they heed the warning and leave Earth alone? As arguments grew louder, a new transmission was received. This one was much weaker, filled with static and barely audible. But the Council's communication experts managed to recover parts of the message. "They've woken up. Not what you think. It's too late to stop them." The fragmented phrases sent chills through the chamber. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Union was at a loss. Even the boldest species began to doubt their desire to investigate. But not everyone agreed. The Zarnak Empire, known for their relentless pursuit of power, declared they would send a fleet to Earth. If there is a threat, Commander Trask announced, we will neutralize it. And if there is something of value, it will belong to us. A few other factions decided to join the Zarnak fleet. They were confident in their advanced weapons and superior technology. What could a silent backwater planet possibly do to them? As the fleet prepared to depart, whispers spread throughout the galaxy. Was this the right decision? Would they return with answers, or would they vanish like Earth's warning suggested? In the deep void of space, Earth remained quiet, its blue surface calm and unassuming. But beneath that calm exterior, something ancient stirred, waiting for the moment when the galaxy would come too close. And Earth's cryptic warning would no longer be just words, it would be a prophecy. The fleet's decision. The Zarnak Empire wasted no time assembling its fleet. 50 of their most advanced warships, each bristling with cutting-edge weaponry, stood ready to pierce through Earth's mysteries. Other factions followed suit, eager to share in the glory or claim whatever treasures Earth might be hiding. The fleet's flagship, Dominion's Claw, was an imposing sight. Nearly a kilometer long, it had destroyed entire planets in its prime. Commander Trask stood on the bridge, staring at the holographic projection of Earth. The dormant world, silent for decades, he muttered, claws clicking against his armored uniform. This is not how the humans would have gone out. Something is wrong. Shall we prepare for immediate planetary assault, sir? His second-in-command asked. No. First, we observe. Let's see if this sleeping beast stirs. As the fleet approached the edges of the solar system, strange anomalies began to occur. The first ship to cross Pluto's orbit experienced minor malfunctions. Flickering lights, unresponsive doors, and strange whispers on the communication channels. At first, the crew laughed it off as space paranoia. But the closer they got to Earth, the worse it became. Entire systems would reset without warning, navigation data scrambled itself, and some crew members claimed to see shadowy figures flickering in their peripheral vision. Hook, one pilot, during a routine patrol around Neptune, sent out a frantic message. Something's following me. The transmission cut off abruptly. His ship was found moments later, drifting aimlessly. The cockpit was empty, the pilot gone. The anomalies spread through the fleet, but Commander Trask was unmoved. We've faced worse, he growled. Humans always played their games. This is nothing more than clever trickery. Meanwhile, aboard the civilian vessel Ecliptic Horizon, unlike the Zarnak warships, the Ecliptic Horizon was a private exploration vessel led by Captain Dren Halvik. Unlike Trask, Halvik wasn't seeking conquest, he was after answers. His crew was a mix of scientists, treasure hunters, and thrill seekers. As they entered the solar system, Halvik's crew noticed something that the Zarnak fleet had missed. Earth's gravitational field was fluctuating unnaturally. It's as if the planet is breathing, whispered Dr. Lena Veros, the ship's astrophysicist, staring at the readings. Breathing, Halvik asked, raising an eyebrow. The gravitational pulses aren't random. They're rhythmic, controlled, almost like it's alive. Halvik grinned. Looks like Earth has a few tricks up its sleeve. Keep scanning. Let's find out what's hiding down there. The Zarnak fleet approaches Earth. As the fleet passed Mars, their long-range scanners detected Earth for the first time. But instead of the bustling, glowing planet from the archives, Earth appeared. Wrong. The oceans shimmered unnaturally, as if their surfaces were coated with liquid glass. The landmasses were covered in strange, dark patches that didn't match any known vegetation. And the atmosphere, normally teeming with life, was disturbingly still. Commander Trask's communications officer called out, "Sir, incoming signal from Earth." Trask's eyes narrowed. Put it through. The signal was faint, filled with static, but the message was clear. Turn back. You have no idea what you're waking up. Humans, Trask sneered. Cowards to the last. Sir, the signal. It's not coming from the surface, the officer added hesitantly. Then where? It's coming from beneath the surface, from deep underground. Look, suddenly, alarms blared across the fleet. A massive gravitational surge pulled the warships off course, dragging them into a new orbit around Earth. The pilots struggled to regain control, but it was useless. From their viewports, they saw it. The moon, Earth's silent companion, had shifted position. It was now perfectly aligned with the fleet, casting a faint red glow on the ships. Is the moon moving on its own? Someone whispered in disbelief. Before anyone could respond, one of the warships vanished in a flash of blinding light. No explosion, no debris, just gone. Enemy attack. Shields up. Trask barked. But there was no enemy. No ships on the radar. Nothing but Earth, the moon, and an unsettling emptiness. We've lost the Vanguard spear. No signs of destruction. Another officer reported, panic creeping into his voice. Find out what happened, Trask roared. Aboard the ecliptic horizon, Halvik and his crew observed the fleet from a distance, their smaller ship hidden behind an asteroid. Did you see that? Lena whispered, her face pale. It's like the ship disintegrated. No, Halvik said grimly. It didn't disintegrate. It was taken. Something on Earth, or below it, is pulling them in. What do we do? Halvik leaned back, his grin fading. We wait. And we don't get too close. The first encounter. The Zarnek fleet hung in Earth's orbit, its once confident crew now riddled with unease. The disappearance of the Vanguard spear weighed heavily on everyone. Commander Trask's orders to investigate the anomaly were clear. No retreat, no hesitation. But fear was a new and unfamiliar enemy to the Zarnak soldiers. Deep inside the Dominion's claw, Trask paced the bridge, his claws tapping against the cold steel floor. Send out the reconnaissance drones, he ordered. I want every inch of that planet scanned. Whatever took the Vanguard spear will reveal itself. The drones, sleek spheres bristling with sensors, were launched in a silent wave toward Earth. Their feeds streamed back to the fleet, displaying desolate landscapes. Cities were overgrown with unnatural vegetation, and rivers flowed with a metallic sheen. The skies were a hazy gray, devoid of birds or clouds. Then, one by one, the drone feeds began to fail. Look. At first, it was static. Then, strange symbols appeared on the screens, symbols that seemed to shift and writhe like living things. Before the last drone's feed cut off, it transmitted an image of a vast, jagged structure rising from Earth's surface. The structure pulsed with a faint red glow, and at its base, a colossal figure moved. The first ship descends. Determined to uncover the truth, Trask ordered one of the smaller warships, the Iron Talon, to descend into Earth's atmosphere. Report everything you see, Trask barked. As the Iron Talon broke through the atmosphere, its sensors went haywire. The pilots struggled to maintain control as the ship was buffeted by unexplainable turbulence. This isn't normal, the lead pilot muttered, gripping the controls. The landscape below was unlike anything recorded in Earth's archives. The jagged structure seen by the drone dominated the horizon, surrounded by a shimmering field of light that distorted reality. Suddenly, a deep guttural hum resonated through the ship's hull. The pilots froze, their eyes widening as the hum turned into a voice. You should not have come. The ship's instruments exploded in a shower of sparks. Lights flickered, and the crew's screams filled the comms before the Iron Talon vanished from the fleet's radar. Hook. Aboard the Dominion's claw, Trask and his crew watched helplessly as the Iron Talon disappeared. This time, a faint afterimage lingered on their screens, an outline of the warship, stretched and twisted, as if something had pulled it into another dimension. What is this madness? Trask growled, his voice trembling with suppressed rage. The comms officer hesitated before answering. Sir, the signal we intercepted earlier, it's growing stronger. It's calling to us. Aboard the ecliptic horizon, Captain Halvik observed the unfolding chaos from the safety of his hidden vantage point. His crew was transfixed by the mysterious structure on Earth, now glowing brighter with every passing moment. "Captain, we've intercepted fragments of the Zarnak fleet's transmissions," Lena said, her voice shaky. "They're losing ships, and they have no idea what's causing it." Halvik leaned forward, his sharp eyes fixed on the holographic display. "Zoom in on that structure," he ordered. The image sharpened, revealing a massive crystalline obelisk rising from the center of a crater. Surrounding it were swirling patterns of light that seemed to form and dissolve like waves in an invisible ocean. "It's not a building," Lena whispered. "It's alive." "What do you mean?" Halvik asked. "The energy readings. It's not just emitting energy, it's consuming it. Everything around it is being drawn in, broken down, and used for something." "Hook." Before Halvik could respond, their ship's sensors detected a sudden spike in energy from the obelisk. A thin beam of light shot out into space, aimed directly at the fleet. The fleet under attack. The Zarnak fleet erupted into chaos as the beam struck one of their ships, the Dreadhammer. The beam didn't destroy the ship outright. Instead, it enveloped it in a translucent bubble of light. The crew's desperate screams echoed through the comms before the ship imploded, collapsing into a single point of light and vanishing. "What kind of weapon is this?" Trask roared, slamming his fist against the console. "It's not a weapon," one of his scientists replied, their voice trembling. "It's feeding. It's using the ships as fuel." The realization sent a wave of terror through the fleet. Earth wasn't defending itself. It was consuming its attackers. A desperate gamble. Despite the losses, Trask refused to retreat. "Deploy the Omega Array," he commanded. "We will bombard the planet from orbit until nothing remains." The Omega Array, a weapon capable of reducing entire planets to rubble, was their last resort. The fleet repositioned, preparing to fire. But just as the first energy charges were loaded, the fleet's systems shut down. Lights flickered, engines stalled, and weapons refused to fire. "Hook." A deep, resonant voice echoed through every ship in the fleet. "You ignored our warning. Now you will face the consequences." The voice wasn't human. It was something ancient and incomprehensible, and it seemed to come from everywhere at once. Cryptic clues. The Zarnak fleet hung in eerie silence above Earth. Their systems were dead, their engines unresponsive, and their weapons useless. The only thing working was the communications channel, through which the haunting voice echoed repeatedly. "You were warned. Leave this place." Commander Trask smashed his fist against the control panel, his rage barely concealing his fear. "Find the source of that voice," he barked. "It's coming from everywhere, Commander," the communications officer stammered. "It's in the ship, in the frequencies. We can't isolate it." Meanwhile, aboard the ecliptic horizon, Halvik and his crew continued to observe from the asteroid belt. Their ship's sensors picked up a strange signal radiating from the obelisk. "It's transmitting again," Lena said, her voice steady but tense. "But this time, it's not a warning. It's a code." "A code for what?" Halvik asked. "I don't know yet, but it's incredibly complex. It's almost like..." She paused, her face growing pale. "Like what?" "Like it's alive and thinking." The descent into mystery. Against Trask's orders, a small contingent of Zarnak scientists launched a shuttle to investigate the planet. They had become obsessed with deciphering the mysterious signals. When the shuttle landed, the scientists found themselves in a desolate landscape of twisted ruins and blackened earth. Their instruments detected faint traces of life deep beneath the surface. Following the signals, they stumbled upon a massive cavern hidden beneath a mountain range. Inside, they discovered ancient carvings and alien machinery, evidence of a civilization far older than humanity. Look, one carving depicted Earth being surrounded by ships not of human origin. Beneath it was a chilling inscription in a language that their universal translator barely deciphered. Earth is the lock. Do not break the seal. The obelisk awakens. Back in orbit, the crystalline obelisk began to pulse more intensely, sending waves of energy through space. The remaining ships in the Zarnak fleet detected strange anomalies. The stars around Earth seemed to flicker and shift, as if reality itself was bending. "What are we looking at?" Trask demanded, pointing at the holographic display. "Spatial distortions," the fleet's lead scientist replied. "But this isn't random. It's deliberate." "Deliberate? What do you mean?" The scientist hesitated before answering. "It's as if something is rewriting the laws of physics around the planet." Hook. Suddenly, a massive rift opened in space, revealing a swirling void. From it emerged a figure, a towering humanoid entity made entirely of light and shadow. Its presence sent a shockwave through the fleet, disabling what little functionality they had left. Aboard the ecliptic horizon, Halvik's crew stared in awe at the entity. Lena scrambled to make sense of its energy signature. "Captain, it's not from this galaxy," she said. "It's extradimensional." "Great," Halvik muttered. As if things weren't bad enough, the entity turned its gaze toward the Zarnak fleet, and its voice boomed across all channels. "You have disrupted the balance. Earth was not yours to approach. Now you will face the consequences of your arrogance." Halvik leaned back, his expression unreadable. "Looks like we got front row seats to the end of the Zarnak Empire." The entity's wrath. The towering figure raised a hand, and beams of energy shot out, striking several of the Zarnak warships. Instead of exploding, the ships began to twist and deform, their materials pulled apart molecule by molecule. On the bridge of the Dominion's claw, Trask watched in horror as his fleet was dismantled. "Fire everything we have," he roared. "Sir, our weapons are offline." "Then ram the obelisk if you have to." The Dominion's claw charged toward the obelisk, but before it could make contact, the entity intervened. With a single gesture, it stopped the massive warship in its tracks. "Hook." The entity's voice filled the ship. "You were warned. Now you are fuel for what comes next." The warship began to dissolve, its crew screaming as they were consumed by the obelisk's energy. Revelations in the cavern. On the surface, the Zarnak scientists continued to explore the cavern. They uncovered a series of ancient devices that seemed to act as containment systems. One of the scientists activated a console, and a holographic figure appeared, a humanoid being with glowing eyes. "I am the warden," the figure said. "You have violated the sanctity of this world. It is not a home, it is a prison. What lies here must never be freed." "What is being contained?" one of the scientists asked, trembling. The warden's face darkened. "The ancient hunger, a force that devours entire galaxies. We trapped it beneath this world eons ago. It sleeps, but your actions have begun to wake it." Descent into chaos. The obelisk on Earth's surface pulsed with an ominous rhythm, its energy rippling across the planet and into space. Cracks formed along Earth's crust, exposing rivers of molten energy that seemed to defy natural physics. The once dormant planet had become an alien landscape, and the survivors of the Zarnak fleet could only watch in horror as their doom unfolded. The collapse of the Zarnak fleet. Aboard the Dominion's claw, Commander Trask refused to accept defeat. "Pull us out of orbit," he roared. "We'll regroup and return with reinforcements." "Commander, the engines are still unresponsive," an officer shouted, panic thick in his voice. Before Trask could respond, the energy from the obelisk surged again, this time forming massive tendrils of light that lashed out at the fleet. Each tendril wrapped around a ship, pulling it toward the planet. Inside the warships, crew members screamed as the tendrils pierced the hulls. Instead of killing them, the tendrils began to absorb their life energy. The ships disintegrated into glowing particles, which flowed into the obelisk like water into a drain. Hook. As the Dominion's claw was dragged closer to Earth, Trask saw a glimpse of something beneath the cracks, a massive, shifting entity with countless eyes. The sight froze him in place, his bravado shattered. "What have we awakened?" he whispered. The prison revealed. Meanwhile, on the planet's surface, the Zarnak scientists inside the cavern struggled to make sense of the warden's warnings. The hologram flickered back to life as the cavern shook violently. "The obelisk is the key," the warden explained. "It sustains the prison seal. But the energy you brought has destabilized it. You must restore the seal before the ancient hunger escapes." "How do we do that?" one of the scientists demanded. The warden hesitated. "A sacrifice must be made. The obelisk requires immense power to repair the seal, enough to rival what you have already unleashed. If you fail, this galaxy will become its feeding ground." Before they could ask more, the cavern collapsed around them, cutting off their escape. A massive chasm opened beneath their feet, revealing swirling energy that radiated hunger and malice. Hook, one of the scientists, drawn by an unseen force, stumbled toward the edge of the chasm. His last words were barely audible. "It's calling me." He fell, his screams echoing before being silenced by the void. The Ecliptic Horizon's mission. Aboard the Ecliptic Horizon, Captain Halvik watched as the Zarnak fleet was annihilated one ship at a time. The obelisk's energy tendrils seemed to grow stronger with each absorption. "Captain," Lena said, her voice shaky, "if that thing breaks free, it won't stop with the Zarnak. It'll consume everything." Halvik nodded grimly. "We're not running. Patch me into whatever's left of the fleet's comms." "What are you planning?" Halvik smirked faintly. "If Earth is a lock, then maybe the obelisk is the key. We'll give it what it needs." Halvik's voice cut through the chaos on the Zarnak comms. "Any survivors out there? This is Captain Halvik. If you want to live, follow my lead. We're going to stop this thing." A desperate alliance. The surviving ships, battered and barely functional, rallied around the Ecliptic Horizon. Despite their losses, the remnants of the Zarnak fleet agreed to work with Halvik's crew. Using their combined resources, they formulated a plan. The obelisk required immense energy to restore the seal, and their ship's reactors could provide it. But this would mean sacrificing every vessel, including the Ecliptic Horizon. "Do we even know if this will work?" one Zarnak captain growled. "No," Halvik admitted. "But the alternative is extinction. Your choice." Look, as the Allied ships prepared for the final push, Lena detected a new signal from the obelisk. It was no longer just emitting warnings. It was sending out a beacon. Something was answering the call. The hunger emerges. The cracks in Earth's surface widened, and the swirling void beneath began to expand. From it emerged tendrils of darkness, moving with terrifying speed and intelligence. The ancient hunger was no longer dormant. It was waking up. The obelisk's energy tendrils clashed with the void's darkness, but it was clear the obelisk was losing the battle. The seal was breaking, and time was running out. Halvik ordered his crew to override the ship's safety protocols, redirecting all power to the obelisk. The surviving Zarnak ships did the same, their captains reluctantly following suit. "Captain," Lena said, tears in her eyes, "if this doesn't work." "It will," Halvik interrupted, his voice firm. "It has to." The final stand. As the Allied ships unleashed their energy into the obelisk, the ancient hunger fought back. The void sent out tendrils of darkness that tore through the ships one by one. Crew members screamed as their vessels were consumed, their sacrifices fueling the obelisk's last desperate stand. Hook. Just as the Ecliptic Horizon began to disintegrate, the obelisk flared with an impossibly bright light. The ancient hunger let out a deafening roar as it was dragged back into the void, the seal restoring itself piece by piece. The vanishing. The void beneath Earth's surface was sealed again, or so it seemed. The obelisk, cracked and dim, stood in solemn silence, But its once commanding presence now felt fragile, as if the seal's integrity was temporary at best. Above, the remnants of the Allied fleet floated helplessly in orbit, their systems fried from the energy surge. A hollow victory. On board the barely functional ecliptic horizon, Halvik and his crew struggled to regain control. Sparks flew from damaged consoles, and the ship's interior was dimly lit by emergency lights. "Status?" Halvik asked, coughing through the smoke that filled the bridge. "We're barely holding together," Lena replied, her hands moving rapidly over flickering controls. "Engines are offline, shields are gone, and life support is running on fumes." "What about the others?" Lena shook her head. No response. "The Zarnak fleet. They're gone, Captain. We're all that's left." Halvik's jaw tightened. Their sacrifice had bought them time, but at what cost? He stared out of the cracked viewport at the obelisk below, his mind racing. Hook. Before anyone could speak, a new transmission crackled through the comms. It wasn't from any ship. It came from the obelisk itself. The words were faint but chilling. "You delayed it, but it is not over." Aboard the obelisk. Determined to uncover the truth, Halvik ordered a small landing party to the planet's surface. Despite their ship's critical condition, the ecliptic horizon launched a shuttle toward the obelisk. The surface of Earth was unrecognizable. Blackened terrain stretched for miles, and the once jagged obelisk now radiated an eerie faint glow. As the team approached, the air around them felt heavy, charged with an unnatural energy that made their skin crawl. "Captain, are you sure about this?" Lena asked, gripping her scanner tightly. "We didn't come this far to stop now," Halvik replied. "Whatever this thing is, we need to understand it. Otherwise, we've just delayed our destruction." The team reached the base of the obelisk and found an opening that hadn't been visible before. A faint hum echoed from within, drawing them inside. The heart of the obelisk. The interior of the obelisk was a maze of glowing corridors, filled with shifting symbols and alien mechanisms that pulsed with a weak light. As the team moved deeper, they discovered a central chamber, a massive spherical room with an enormous core suspended in the center. The core pulsed faintly, like a dying heartbeat. Lena's scanner beeped wildly. "Captain, this core, it's not just technology. It's alive." Before Halvik could respond, the core flared briefly, and a holographic figure appeared. A humanoid with indistinct features, its body composed of shimmering light. "Hook." The figure spoke in a voice that echoed through the chamber. "You think you have saved yourselves, but you misunderstand. The seal is weakened, and the hunger cannot be stopped by force alone. A forgotten history." The hologram introduced itself as a remnant of the Warden's creators, an ancient race long extinct. It explained the true nature of Earth's history. Eons ago, Earth was chosen as the perfect site for the prison because of its unique ability to regenerate. The obelisk was designed to contain the ancient hunger by drawing energy from the life forms that evolved on the planet. Humanity, unknowingly, had been part of the system, fuel for the seal. When humans advanced, the Wardens said they disrupted the balance. Their wars, their technology, their attempts to leave the planet, all weakened the seal. That is why the warning was sent. Halvik felt a chill run down his spine. "You're saying humanity itself is part of the problem?" "Yes," the Warden replied. "Without balance, the hunger will rise again. The galaxy will not survive." The obelisk's final demand. The Warden revealed that the obelisk could temporarily strengthen the seal, but it required a final sacrifice. The life energy of the landing party. "You must choose. Restore the balance, or leave the galaxy vulnerable to the hunger's return." Halvik's team was stunned. They had already lost so much. Was it fair to demand more? Lena stepped forward, her voice trembling. "If we do this, how long will the seal last?" "Centuries, perhaps millennia," the Warden replied. "But without balance, it will break again." "Hook." Halvik clenched his fists. You're asking us to trade our lives for a temporary solution. There has to be another way. There is none, the warden said, its tone final. The fleet's vanishing. As the landing team debated their fate, something unexpected happened in orbit. The wreckage of the Zarnak fleet began to disappear, vanishing into thin air without a trace. On board the Ecliptic Horizon, the remaining crew watched in shock. "What's happening?" one of the engineers asked. Lena's voice crackled through the comms. "It's the hunger. Concealed, it's feeding on what's left." The obelisk's glow intensified, and the chamber shook violently. The warden turned to Halvik. "Choose now, or there will be nothing left to save." The sacrifice. Halvik closed his eyes, the weight of the decision crushing him. He looked at his team, their faces pale but resolute. They nodded, one by one, accepting their fate. "Do it," Halvik said quietly. The warden raised its hand, and the core of the obelisk flared brightly. The team felt their life energy being pulled away, their bodies growing weaker by the second. Earth's true face. The obelisk pulsed faintly one last time, its light dimming as the seal beneath Earth stabilized. The hunger's tendrils, now severed from the void, retreated into the depths, leaving the planet eerily silent. Halvik's team lay motionless at the base of the obelisk, their life energy spent. Above, the remnants of the Ecliptic Horizon drifted aimlessly, its crew watching the scene unfold with a mix of awe and dread. The aftermath of sacrifice. Lena's voice crackled over the comms, weak but determined. "Captain Halvik, and the others, they're gone." The crew of the Ecliptic Horizon exchanged somber glances. The ship's systems were barely functional, and supplies were running out. Earth, once teeming with life, was now an alien wasteland. "What now?" asked one of the engineers. "We survive," the acting commander replied. "For them." As the Ecliptic Horizon began its slow ascent out of Earth's orbit, the obelisk sent out one final broadcast, this time across the entire galaxy. The obelisk's message. The broadcast was a warning and a plea, its cryptic words echoing in the minds of every advanced species across the Milky Way. "Balance has been restored, but the seal is fragile. Do not disturb this world again. The hunger watches from beyond, and it will return if we fail." For the Galactic Union, the message was a wake-up call. Earth was no longer just a planet. It was a symbol of both destruction and resilience. The Council convened immediately, declaring Earth a forbidden zone. No ships would be allowed near it, no research expeditions permitted. The mystery deepens. While most species obeyed the Union's decree, rumors spread of rogue factions plotting to return to Earth. For them, the obelisk represented immense power, a weapon to be harnessed. The obelisk, however, had its own plans. As the Ecliptic Horizon drifted farther from Earth, the crew detected strange energy readings from the planet. From orbit, they saw something inexplicable. The obelisk began to dissolve, its crystalline structure breaking into millions of tiny fragments that floated into the atmosphere like glowing dust. "Captain," one of the crew members whispered, "what's happening to the obelisk?" "It's not disappearing," Lena said, her voice trembling. "It's spreading." Hook. The fragments of the obelisk scattered across Earth, embedding themselves into the planet's surface. The land shimmered with a faint light, as if the obelisk was infusing the entire planet with its energy. Earth's transformation. Back on the surface, Earth itself began to change. The cracks in the ground sealed themselves, the rivers of molten energy cooled, and the alien vegetation began to wilt. But in its place, new life forms emerged, creatures unlike anything that had existed before. These creatures, glowing faintly with the obelisk's energy, seemed to act as guardians, patrolling the planet and protecting the seal. Halvik's legacy. Aboard the Ecliptic Horizon, Lena recorded the final log. Earth is no longer just a planet. It's become something different, something alive. The obelisk wasn't just a prison key. It was a part of the seal itself. And now, That seal has spread across the entire planet, binding the hunger deeper than ever before. Helvik and the others gave their lives for this. Their sacrifice wasn't just for Earth, it was for the entire galaxy. But the obelisk's final message lingers. If we disrupt the balance again, there may not be a second chance. Look. As Lena ended her log, a faint signal came through the comms. It was faint, but unmistakable. Helvik's voice. Balance is restored, but it will not hold forever. Prepare. A new era for Earth. The camera pans back to Earth, now glowing faintly in the darkness of space. Alien ships in the distance turn away, heeding the Union's warning to leave the planet alone. But as the galaxy moves on, questions remain unanswered. Who were the Warden's creators? What is the true nature of the ancient hunger? And most importantly, how long will the seal hold? Final hook. Deep beneath Earth's surface, in the void where the hunger once stirred, faint whispers can be heard. They grow louder, more insistent, as if something is waiting and watching. The screen fades to black, leaving the audience with one chilling thought. Earth's secrets are far from over.